Good evening, or good afternoon, or good morning. It really depends on where you are right now. My name is Eleonora, and on behalf of Slow Food, I welcome you to this international meeting of school garden networks and school network. I'm really happy to see you, to see that you are so numerous. First of all, some housekeeping. There is interpreting available into English, French, and Spanish. So you can, Italian. So you can change the language by clicking on the globe on the bottom of your screen. If you want to listen to the Italian, you need to select Korean, actually. I'm sure that lots of you already know about this trick. So welcome to you. Once again, the purpose of this meeting is to share internationally the 10 guidelines of slow food gardens and share some more experience that have the same methodology of slow food. So we are speaking about the importance of protecting the environment, the sensory element, and gardens as educational tools. We are going to speak about the experience of l'école comestible from France with Camille Labro. And then there will be Claudio Mazza, the president of the Foundation for Environmental Education Italy, and then Nick Lee from the Edible Schoolyard from the United States. I'm going to give the floor to Annalisa Donorio, who is the coordinator from Italy of the International Networks of Slow Food Gardens. She's going to speak about the 10 guidelines of slow food gardens, and she's going to be the host of this meeting. So enjoy the meeting, and the floor to you, Annalisa. Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm really happy and thrilled to welcome you all. We are here as networks talking to each other. And we are here because we want to talk about slow food gardens. As many of us and you already know, it's been since 2003, since the International Congress of Slow Food, when the President Carlo Petrini invited all members, slow food members, to create gardens to do education in schools. And so from that moment, slow food gardens started to be created. It's been 20 years and the network has increased and it's grown dramatically. Just think about Africa, North America, Central America, South America, Europe, the Italian network in Italy, Orto in Condotta, or also in Russia, in Asia. We've grown a lot. At the beginning, our target was children. Now we also deal with families, activists, communities. What did not change is our approach, the way in which we work on gardens, and also the pleasure, the sensory element and curiosity that fills us all. We've drawn inspiration immediately from the Edible Schoolyard, and that is why I would like to thank Nick Lee for being with us today. And we've been contaminated also by many other organizations. But last year we said, okay, so what makes us different as a school, as slow food gardens? What makes us different from the others? We would have wanted to organize this discussion in presence at the Terra Madre Salone del Gusto with all the activists. That was not the case, but we are flexible, and so we decided to meet online. And we jotted down a document that we officially presented in the framework of Terra Madre Salone del Gusto on the 6th of March. And Eddie Mukibi, our international vice president, presented the document and asked the network to make remarks. And so we received remarks from all around the world because we wanted to be a shared effort. We also wanted to include the network, and that was what happened. And the network was really reactive. We took some months to collect all these inputs and remarks, to work on them, and to put them, to translate them into a document, some guidelines that we're going to share with you in all the languages in which the document was translated, and the translation is still underway. It's still a work in progress, because we've provided some translations, but then national networks added some more translations. So, for example, from Romania. In Romania, they decided to translate it, and we're going to share the translation into Romanian in the chat. So growing a food garden is by definition a slow activity, because you need to change your speed, you need to slow down, and nature and the environment is slow. It is not frenzy at all. So we are forced to slow down the way in which we act and think, and this is our leitmotif, and this is what all people who work in food gardens have to do. Of course, we are not speaking about those who do it for a business. And in addition to that, slow food gardens can also be grown individually, but very often they are grown by schools or families or slow food convivia. And if you do that with this approach, with this mentality, if you also do it also by thinking about food and what happens from the seed to the leaf to the root and the potato at the end, if you think about the process, you immediately think about how it makes it different from what you find in supermarkets. Processed food that you can find in supermarket. And this is what makes you active. Being a network turns us into a movement based on resistance, a protest against the food industry. And this also leads us to a call to action, because we want all passionate, enthusiast food growers, they need to understand, they need to remember that if they grow their garden, if they are working their garden, they are working having in mind 3 pillars when you talk to cooks, when you talk to fishermen and people doing cheese makers. We work to defend biodiversity in the field, but also from a cultural point of view. We want our projects to be educational. So we want to change the behavior of producers and also consumers. And we also want to change policies. That is why we do advocacy. These 3 pillars, biodiversity, education, and advocacy, are the pillars of slow food gardens. And this was also the basis of our approach when working on the 10 guidelines, the 10 principles for slow food gardens. So observation, for example, to create a food garden, it is important to first observe the space and the resources available locally. And so you need to grow local crops, but also the recipes, the way in which you use such products need to be local. You need to use non-hybrid seeds, native seeds. You need to respect the soil and water and earth in general. Our gardens educate not only in schools, but also in all the other contexts, because as we said, they produce a change in the perspective and in the behavior, and they create a network, a big network, us. It is us that is interconnected, that we are promoting some twinnings between different networks, but we are open to externally, because we want to become even stronger and bigger. And this leads us to advocacy. because some of the purposes, some of the sustainable development goals can be really reached by growing a food garden. For example, the fight against climate change, or sustainable, responsible consumption and production, gender equality, clean water and sanitation. Even though not all of our gardens are productive, but if you grow your garden, you favor food sovereignty. And so our movement is aimed and wants to change local, national and international policies. Food gardens are symbols of resistance. And with our gardens, we try to offer young people and women new opportunities from working point of view, such as work, but not only. But the basis of all that is communities, because without communities, it would be impossible to reach all our targets. We have 10 principles. We cannot, we are not sure that all these gardens are already comply with such 10 principles, but we will do our best. Okay, and now we are going to to listen to the experience of 3 important networks. The first one, L'École Comestible. Camille Labro is with us. She's the founder of this interesting project that was developed recently in France, but it is already a big project. So thanks a lot, Camille, for being with us, and the floor to you.
Thank you, Annalisa. Do you hear me? I'm very happy to be here with you today. You're right, we're very young compared to slow food and edible schoolyard, because the École Comestible was founded 2 years ago in 2019. And of course, we were inspired by the model of the edible schoolyard in California, and Nick will share his experience later. The main idea of L'École Comestible is to have food education integrated in school programs in France. It's we want to develop tools and methodology with teachers and with pupils in France, in all the country. And we want to disseminate our principle in the whole country. Why did we create the École Comestible? Today, food is at the heart of all problematics: health, agriculture, nature, environment, climate change, economy, social inequalities, but we don't know what we eat. And slow food wants to change this. For example, we have children going to the canteen, and generally, children do not know the origin of the products, the food they eat. They don't know how it is cooked, how it is grown, etc. And they don't know anything, and they don't have the pressure to eat and to taste new food. Therefore, it's quite difficult to create educational food education in this context, and we have a big waste. And nowadays, we don't know anymore what senses mean. We have labels, QR or barcodes that replace our senses, and we don't know what tastes and senses are anymore, and that's a pity. Our objectives is try to recreate bonds of the whole distribution chain of foods, and to know what seeds are, and to know what Earth is, and to know or the whole value chain of food, and to know who the shareholders are, to understand that we are part of this distribution chain from producer to seed producer, and we are consumer, but we are actors. So consume actors and consumers at the same time. What is our methodology? We want to put in place different school workshops based on different values, different workshop school based on 4 principles. First of all, the first principle is to discover senses and tastes. To understand food, we have to understand senses. We have to be in contact with earth, with plants, with odors, tastes. We have to listen to our own body. And we have to discover the context, the environment where we live. We have to rediscover or discover the living beings, vegetables, fruits, how the seeds and plants are grown, etc. Another principle, which is the base of our methodology, is learning by doing. Thanks to this principle, we can fight the agro-industrial world. And the other principle is doing things together. So collective work, sharing experiences, cook recipes together, and grow the orchard together. We work on different themes, no reduction of waste, for example, protection of the environment, understanding different cultures, etc. We have different programs. We have 5 and 6 school workshop from the elementary, primary, and to middle school programs. We want to, first of all, have children understand what they eat. So we have a seasonal vegetable basket. Then we have a different workshop, which is the workshop from seed to veggie, where children can understand nature, understand biodiversity, and understand the whole nature that they are living in. Then we have sensory workshop. So a connection between our senses and food, to understand the colors, the odors of carrots or other herbs, and understand what the seeds are, how you cook food, etc. And then we have primary tasting workshops to understand salted food, sugared food, spicy food, etc. Children learn how to identify and differentiate different food, and they can learn to cook different foods, and they can create different recipes. We also have different workshops linked to junk food, for example. We try to transform junk food in good food. We cook different traditional recipes or strange recipes, and we want to use plants seasonally. So we understand seeds, growing plants, crop, compost, etc. We have an educational program which is based on the necessity of different children. It's a transversal program. We want children to understand what they do. We want children to learn concretely what they have, and then to retain what they're learning. We would like that our program will be integrated in a school program in France. And then children can go home and teach the parents to different recipes. We work with teachers, we work with volunteers, and we want to disseminate our programs and workshops in the whole region of France. We also developed another tool, educational tool, based on a collective intelligence, thanks to the contribution of researchers, artisans, cooks, gardeners, nutritionists, teachers, etc. And we developed those educational kits. We have those educational kits which are available on our website if you want to download it. And of course, we put in practice our theory with children on the field. Of course, we're very young when we don't have a very long experience, but what we noticed that the results are very positive in the schools where we have our programs implemented. Children are very happy, teachers are very happy, and we observed that some changes have occurred concerning knowledge about vegetables, concerning knowledge about nature, and everyone learns from one another. That's an example that you can see on the screen. Concerning our movement, we promote delicious revolution. We want food which is good, beautiful, clean and fair, and we can start from school, through home, and to the nature. I don't know if I have time, but I want to share a very short video to make you understand what we do. Does it work? Maybe Elena can share the film. A seasonal basket. Why is it seasonal? We have seasons for vegetables. We don't eat anything anytime. We want to work with artisans, bakers, farmers, gardeners locally. In the south of France, those vegetables are grown in the moment, but in the north, no. We work with children. We want to create things together with teachers, with activists, and that's an interaction. And we share experience with experts that share their knowledge, but they receive something from children. The name of this thing is Koikum. So it's kind of rolled salad. At the Ecology Comestic, we create programs, so different workshops. We have a educational program. We work on nature, on vegetables, on the reduction of waste, and we build a real garden. In every box, we put a seed, a different plant, and we see how the seed will be grown and how the seed becomes a vegetables, and then you can cook it.
Merci beaucoup, Camille. Cela a été très intéressant. On est vraiment... Sorry, we are very much connected. Sorry. We are very much connected. Thanks a lot. It was really interesting. And I think that we can learn from each other very much. And we are really happy to have been able to listen to what you said. And now I would like to give the floor to Claudio Mazza, President of the Foundation for Environmental Education in Italy, who is going to speak about a really important project at international level. He is working a lot on environmental education. That is another topic that we deal with when working in gardens. Today, we are mainly speaking about school and educational gardens. So what we have in common with our networks is this kind of garden. Claudia, thanks a lot for being with us, and the floor to you. We can't hear Claudio. The microphone is off. The microphone is still off. Okay, now it is on. Okay, so as I said, in Italy, I represent the Foundation for Environmental Education. That is an international foundation that started being active in Europe 40 years ago. And there are 5 international programs in this foundation, mainly based on environmental education, formal, non-formal, informal education. Blue Flag, the Blue Flag is the most famous initiative. That is an initiative that is relevant for cities and municipalities along the coast. And then there is the Ecology program. It started 30 years ago. And the targets are schools of any level and any type. These programs, before becoming international programs, are tested for about 10 years in some countries. So just when the result is certain, when we have tweaked the program, such programs become international programs. Eco School, for example, is one of such programs, and then the Blue Flag. In such cases, for these 2 programs, we have signed a partnership with the UN 10 years ago. And then we also worked with the UNEP and the World Organization of Tourism. And these enable us to go beyond the Europe because we are today in 77 countries in 5 continents. I think that the main program is Eco School because it is an educational program targeting any types of school, the building of schools, school buildings, and school communities within local communities. Right now, youngsters are getting more and more involved in such programs because the school is implemented from kindergartens to colleges and universities. Many years ago, the universities got in touch with me, with us rather, and they said that they were expecting also to continue the programs. For example, in Ireland, 100% of schools participate and are part of this program. 70% of schools are part of the program in the UK. So we are speaking about a really widespread program that is operational in 77 countries. 20 million students being involved in the programs. So as I was saying, right now there is a huge demand by youngsters. They know that there are big problems in the world and they feel frustrated. And in such context, the Eco School program gives them the opportunity that they can make the difference every day, because they realize that what they do in Italy, in any Italian city, can be the same thing that is done in Spain, in France, in the UK, in the US, in Africa. They feel part of a big network, and this makes them stronger. Everything starts from the creation of an eco committee. That is the first step. There are 7 steps. The method is based on 7 steps. But that is mainly a method. It is not a way to exclude other projects. Actually, the aim is to give more values to projects. So as I was saying, the first step is the creation of an eco committee involving students, teachers, all the school staff, the headmaster, parents. Their participation really depends on the type of school that we work with. So their involvement will be smaller or bigger. It really depends on the type of school that we're talking about. But the most important player is the municipality. The municipality need to be involved, need to be member of the eco community, the eco committee rather. And there could also be local associations. This eco committee is the body that is in charge of this organization. And sometimes it is necessary to negotiate. So the eco committee starts with an environmental inquiry. That is the second step. So the school building is observed. Some questionnaires are given to students. They fill in the questionnaire, and the topics to develop are identified, and also the problems, the most relevant problems are identified for that school. Once that the results of the environmental inquiry have been reached, there is an action plan with some deadlines, with people in charge of every step. And after that, all problems are identified and solutions are proposed. Then there is the integration of the program into the school curriculum, because sustainability related topics are very much multidisciplinary. So it is really important to involve all teachers in all subjects. And so the teacher that is in charge of the project can be from any subject. So it is not necessarily true that the teacher in charge is the science teacher, because these topics, as I said, are very much multidisciplinary. And so also teachers of other topics can be involved. So as I said, there is the environmental inquiry, then the integration in the school curriculum, and after that, the topics are identified. There are many topics dealing with water, energy, or waste, or food, or gardens, and so on and so forth. The topic is identified, and then there are some other topics across cutting or multidisciplinary topics that are identified. Sometimes the project is put in place by just one school, but in other cases, networks of schools, such as that was the case in Pescara or Como or Latina. So all the schools in the city are involved. For example, in Pescara, 57 schools of the municipality of the town of Pescara were involved, both private and public. They work together in a network. And in that case, a topic is selected on the basis of specific needs, but also, so there is a topic for the network and a topic for each school. Just think what it means in terms of numbers: 57 schools, 18,000 students working on a topic. Just think about the potential, the impact on the town, because needless to say, students learn a lot at school, and they share what they learn with their parents, with their families, with their communities. So this is how topics are selected. And after that, there is the assessment and follow up throughout the school year to make sure that everything is going right. And after that, there are moments in which it is possible to share and to discuss about what is happening with the rest of the community. And then everything finishes with the creation of an eco code, that is the rules of the project, and that becomes the environmental policy of the school. And next year, students can also decide to change such rules, because the program is organized into cycles. So every year, everything starts again. Bear in mind that when all the 7 steps are achieved, the school is assessed and obtains the international certification of Eco School, the green flag. Thanks a lot, Claudio. I think that the method that you have described with many details can be interesting for a network of school of gardens, such as our own network, because it is possible to integrate other projects. The figures that you shared with us speak by themselves. That says a lot about you do for educational, environmental education. Now, I would like to ask all participants to ask their questions in the chat. So if they have any questions about l'école comestible and eco schools, and also later to about the edible schoolyard. We've seen that you're very many, so thanks a lot for being with us. And I would also like to thank Claudio for being with us and for his presentation. And I would like to give the floor to Nick Lee, representing today the Edible Schoolyard project. He could give us some figures and experience, but we asked him to have a really specific presentation about education and mainly multidisciplinarity and how to use food gardens as an educational tool. The floor to you.
Thank you, Annalisa. Hello, everyone. I am Nick Lee. I'm the Senior Program Manager with the Edible Schoolyard Project in Berkeley, California. And it's an honor to be here alongside Camille and Claudia. And thank you, Eleonora and Annalisa and everyone at Slow Food for bringing us together today. Our program was started by Alice Waters, the founder of Chez Panisse Restaurant and a pioneering advocate for farm-to-school cuisine, for farm-to-table cuisine, and for the organic agriculture movement in the United States. 25 years ago, Alice had the vision for a school garden program and a kitchen that would allow students to learn how food is grown, how to prepare and enjoy fresh foods, and to enrich their academic learning through connections to the natural world. Now, the Edible Schoolyard is a 1-acre garden and an indoor kitchen classroom located on the grounds of a public middle school in Berkeley, California. At our school, all 1,000 students visit the garden classroom 10 times a year with their science classes, and they visit the kitchen classroom 10 times a year with their history teacher. I know this webinar is focused on school gardens, but you'll hear me talk about the kitchen program as well, because it's such a key part of our program. Principle 7 of the 10 slow food principles for school gardens is that gardens are places where the pleasure of learning can be cultivated, that allow for food to be studied in a complex and multidisciplinary way. And this principle is so closely aligned with our beliefs and our practices around what we call edible education, which is teaching about food, not only in the garden, but in the classroom as well. Edible education is teaching students about food in all ways. And as Camille talked about, it is sensory. It is based on the experiences that students have in the garden and in the kitchen. And as Claudio said, it is interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary and allows students to learn about many subjects at the same time. We believe that food is also deeply emotional and personal, and that when we talk about food and teach about food, we need to bring that into the classroom as well. We believe that food can be a powerful community builder, an opportunity to bring school communities closer. And finally, we recognize that food is also political and connected to the important issues of our time, like climate, as Claudio said, and also to issues of social justice, worker rights. As we teach at the Edible Schoolyard, we try to center our students. We design for the lessons and experiences to be based around what they do, what they experience, how they feel, what they have thought, what they have done at the end of the lesson. This means that we highlight sensory activities. We try to connect our learning to things that students know from home. We want to access the knowledge that they already have. We highlight critical thinking and create room for discussion. We don't believe that there is a single right answer to creating a more just and better food system. And finally, we want the students to have joyful, gratifying experiences. We want them to enjoy coming to the garden and to the kitchen. School gardens are widely recognized as important places to help them learn about food systems, to learn about nutrition and health, and to build a relationship with the natural world. But as I'm here to talk about today, school gardens are also a valuable place for advancing core curricular subject learning. In gardens and kitchens, students can learn math, science, language arts, and history. The incorporation of academic standards into the garden can range from the obvious, like studying plant anatomy by dissecting flowers, to the absurd, like having students jump on balance beams made from fallen trees to learn the physics of levers. Gardens lend themselves to a wide array of learning experiences that would not be possible in traditional classrooms. Many of these examples include more activity and physicality than would be feasible inside. I think that this level of physical engagement is a big part of the success of academic learning in the garden. Students have the opportunity to learn by doing, feeling, and experiencing instead of just by reading. This is an example of students learning about decomposition, decay, and the cycle of matter as they build and turn a compost pile. Another element of the success of academic learning in the school garden is joy. Students love to be in the garden, and they often express how much they enjoy garden class. For example, when students are learning about the ecology, and the role of pollinators. They are tasked with capturing pollinators in the garden. They're given nets and jars and about 15 minutes to run free in the garden. And middle school science classes don't often have shrieking and giggling and screams of joy. But during this class, students do. They're frolicking through the garden and finding bees, native bees, butterflies, and sharing their discoveries with their peers and with their teachers. We prioritize creating activities that center joy. Students learn better when they're excited and engaged, and fun activities are a sure way to build excitement and engagement. These lessons are also deeply memorable. And when they're memorable, they increase knowledge retention. It's not uncommon for us to have students visit us after they've completed college or they're young adults, and they come back to visit and they recall specific lessons, specific activities, specific pieces of content from 10, 15, or even 20 years ago. Students learn better when they're engaged. We heard from Camille earlier how students are sensorially engaged in the garden. School gardens and kitchens are a powerful, powerful space for enriching the learning of a school. I strongly encourage all of you to connect with the teachers, the principals, and the school administrators, and to connect your garden programs to the core academic content in your school. At the Edible Schoolyard, we support gardens around the world through our work with the Edible Schoolyard Network. We offer student-centered, standards-aligned lessons and curriculum for free of charge. You can download those resources and learn more about online trainings and webinars that we offer at our website at www.edibleschoolyard.org. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Nick. Thanks a lot for having finished your speech by speaking about the joy to learn. That is what we always try to include in our project, because we know that it is a really powerful tool. We have about 10 minutes available left for questions. First of all, one question to Camille. I don't know if you've read in the chat that there is a question about the obstacles that you could observe after you started the project. For example, age played a role because you started also working with young children. So could you identify some obstacles that played a role?
We started working with very small young children first, so we didn't really have some problems with children. We have instead we had some difficulties concerning administrative obstacles. I don't know how it works in Italy, but in France it's very, very complicated to develop and to implement a real school program. We have to be accredited. You have to be authorized from the Ministry of the Education, the French Ministry of the Education. So it's very complicated to integrate this kind of educational tools and educational programs in the schools. But if we met some responsible from some school responsible that wanted the project to be implemented in their own schools, then we didn't, the thing were quite easier. Alice Waters is the founder of this idea, but where we managed to develop the school, then we had some people responsible that were very, very interested in the project, and we started implementing those programs in the south of France, in Marseille. And what I have to say is that we can implement our program if the staff, school staff, is interested and they support us. But school, if staff of school is not interested, you can't implement the program. I think there was a question about stage, the nutritionist stage. Yes, we will launch a specific program next year. You can write to us through our email address. You can have our contact on the website. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Camille. We have quite a lot of questions, some of them to all speakers. So, for example, what are the strategies to implement for school garden projects to make sure that they are sustainable, that they continue over time? Perhaps, Nick, could you please take this one?
Of course, thank you. It's a wonderful question. With school gardens, some of the things that we have seen that help projects sustain and thrive for many years is to have a committee, a wide array of stakeholders within the school system. I think often it may be that one teacher or one parent volunteer is very enthusiastic and drives the development of the project. But if that person leaves the school community, that garden will not likely succeed. So it's very important to get a wide array of parent volunteers involved, or to get a whole team of teachers working together to maintain and build the school program, the school garden program. Of course, finding funding, building a funding stream to hire somebody specific to maintain and to teach in the school garden program is the end goal, but that can be challenging. I saw there was one other question in here for me, which is across the United States, an idea of how many schools are using our programs. We develop curriculum and distribute it free of charge on our website. And I can say that in the past year and a half since the beginning of the pandemic, we're thrilled to say we have over 200,000 curriculum downloads. And with our online training programs, we have reached educators in all 50 states and more than 30 countries. I think the idea in the United States is very widespread. There are thousands of school gardens across the country, and we support them all to build strong, independent programs that they can match to the needs of their own community.
Thanks a lot, Nick. Yes, in the chat, there were also some demands to be part of your project from Mexico. And I'm sure that you will receive some more requests also from other countries. And there is also requested to create twinnings among slow food gardens, but also slow food gardens and gardens from other networks. I think that this is a brilliant idea. And one question to Claudio. There is a question about resources. What is the funding? I mean, it takes one person who is in charge of funding. Do you have any good practices that you would like to share? Well, programs can be a bit different from this point of view, because normally for blue flag programs targeted to municipalities on sustainable development and environmental education, well, the participation for municipalities is free of charge. And also all the audit is free of charge. And that is why we need to raise funds. And this is what we do as foundation. While speaking about schools, the participation of schools has a cost. And I would say the 95% of cases, this cost is covered by municipalities. So normally municipalities bear the cost of such participation because the project have a positive impact in terms of school consumption. So there are some savings, and also for the impact on the whole community. And so normally municipalities are more than happy to bear the cost to pay the membership cost. But in just in case a school cannot really be supported by the municipality, we would not abandon them, and we find a solution. We pay the cost in any case. Thanks a lot, Claudio. There are some more questions, but time is running out. We are close to the end. I would like to thank the interpreters who've supported us free of charge. They were volunteers because they wanted to facilitate communication. We are collecting all your questions in any case, and we are going to send some of the replies and the recording through a newsletter. So if you are not, if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter about slow food gardens, you will find the link in the chat to register to subscribe to this newsletter. So you will then get the replies to some of the questions and the recording of the meeting. In the chat, you will also find a questionnaire. We ask you to fill in this questionnaire because we would like to get to know each other a bit better, because we are a big network, So perhaps we do not know each other very well at international level. At local level, we know each other a bit better. So that is why, please, we ask you to fill in the questionnaire. Thanks a lot to Claudia Aranya from Slow Food Tardomures in Romania, who offered and found a really nice photos to speak about slow food gardens, and a big thank you to today's speakers, because this participation is just the beginning of a new collaboration, because we've been discussing for a long time with L'École Comestible and the Edible Schoolyard. So I think that this is just the first step of our collaboration. And hopefully there will be also the beginning of a new collaboration with the Foundation for Environmental Education. Thanks a lot to all participants, speakers, organizers, and the interpreters. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.